Good morning everybody, Graham once again from Unearthed, and we're here today to show you the new X-Terra Pro from Minelab. The metal detector's finally arrived. We're going to put it through its paces, look at some of its features, see if we can get away from this 35-mile-an-hour wind, but we're going to take advantage of this spell of weather because the sun's shining for the first time in about 3 weeks. So I've got the X-Terra Pro behind me. I'm just going to switch that over. We can see it, there it is. Well, let's have a look at what all the fuss is about. See you soon. So the X-Terra Pro from Minelab has finally arrived. We built it a couple of days ago. Didn't really have the spell of weather to go out and test it. However, there was a break today where the sun's shining and it's actually quite pleasant if it wasn't for that wind. However, we have got to make hay while the sun shines and get this machine looked at, put it through its paces a little bit, and let's have a look at some of its features. So I've turned it on, I've built the machine. Now, the first thing that struck me with this detector was how much it's like the Equinox in a lot of ways, and I actually think, for what it's worth, the colour, this green colour, is quite attractive in its own way. Now, I'm not one for looking at metal detectors and saying, oh, that looks good, or, you know, I'm not bothered about the colour of that, but this actually does look, it does look the part, I think. Out of the box, it took me probably a minute and a half to build, if that. It was extremely easy. So everything is on this adjustable shaft. There's one screw that goes in the back of there for the arm cup. Very simple. It comes with a little Allen key. Just screw it in there, slot it on, and you can actually, if you want, clip this down and adjust your control box length and handle to your own requirements. I'll show you it packed down at the end of this film. Very, very lightweight, and I also like the shape of the V12 X coil, which is very similar to the X-Terra. Now, as we're talking about this detector, before we go into its features, what's interesting about this machine is the current Equinox coils actually fit it. So you've got a huge choice and range of different coils, including the Coiltech range, that will fit this X-Terra Pro, which was a surprise to me. I was quite surprised when I found that out earlier in the month. So you've got the choice of a 6-inch coil, which is obviously the one that the Minelab 600 and 800 works on. You've got the standard coil, you've got the 15-inch monster coil, and you've got the full range of Equinox coils that Coiltech made, including the 10B5, 15-inch and the 14B9. So there's a massive range of coils. I actually think this will also come with a V10 coil available as an added accessory, and a V8X coil. So, I mean, the coil list goes on and on. However, I like the shape of this coil. I've always liked these type coils on a lot of the machines that I've used over the years. And of course, there's no nut to go in the end of there. As you can see, it's just a bolt straight through, very much like the Vanquish range. So that's quite handy. Let's have a look at some of its features first. Now, I've turned it on. As you can see, you've got your battery indicator at the top, you've got your sensitivity indicator here, and that 15 in the middle is telling you and me I'm operating in 15 kilohertz. Now, this is an interesting detector in so much as it's an adjustable single frequency detector. I can use it in 5, 10, 15, and if I was on the beaches detecting with it, it would be stuck on 8 kilohertz. So it's cemented onto that 8 kilohertz setting for the beach. You've pretty much got the Dials here, as you can see, very similar to the Equinox. So those that are familiar with the Equinox range of detectors will be quite familiar with this. You know, you've got your noise, you've got your frequency shift, you've got your noise cancel button, you've got your all metal, you've got your plus and minus here for adjusting things like your volume and your sensitivity. You've got your accept and reject, and also you've got your button to also go through the different modes. So if I press this, it comes up AU first, and that's telling me to do a noise cancel. Sorry, I was pressing the wrong one there, folks. It's the plus and minus. It's going through a noise cancel now. It's chose channel 1. I'll go back into that. And then you've got the range of different options available. Now, before we go into some of its settings, I'm going to just put this in. You've got Beach 1, Beach 2, Park 1, Park 2. We'll have it in Field 1 for this particular film, which is fine. So you've got things like your volume, 25's maximum, goes all the way down to 0. I'll put it up to about 20, I think, just for this particular test. And then you've got the threshold. You can hear that threshold humming in the background. Personally, and this is just my personal preference, I do not use a threshold on any of my detectors. However, some people do use the threshold and enjoy that experience and enjoy that feature. For me though, I don't use it. Some people swear by it, and I understand where they're coming from, but I don't bother with the threshold. Then you've got tones, which is interesting. This is where it becomes interesting. So we've got one tone, which is a monotone, so it'll be the same tone for everything. And then you've got two tone, which is probably going to be my preferred secondary tone system, if that makes sense. Let's just get rid of this wind for now, folks. It's absolutely howling. And then you've got 5-tone, and then you've got all tones, which is very similar to the all tones system on the Equinox 900, which I am really enjoying searching in at the moment. That seems very good. And then you've got the DP, delta pitch tone as well. So you've got a number of options tone wise on this machine. So we'll probably use between the 2-tone and the all tone. I like that all tone. It's very, very sweet on the Equinox 900. I'm sure it'll be the same for this. And then moving on, you've got the accept and reject. That comes in at -16, but you can alter that in the sub menu if you want, at your desire as well. And then you've also got your recovery speed. Now the recovery speed is interesting on this machine. So as you can see, that's on 3. So if you were looking at the Equinox 900, 800, that would be the equivalent to 6. You come down 1 into 2 recovery speed. On the Equinox, say the Equinox 800, for example, that would be the equivalent to 4. So for me, for a standard day's detecting, nothing too special, I would be putting my recovery speed on 2, which is perfect. Now this machine's also got a number of different features, as we said earlier. We're in field 1. I can choose with this little button here on the bottom right what to operate this detector in. So I've got the choice of 5 kilohertz, which I will ignore. Personally for me, 5 kilohertz is not a preferred search mode. However, some people will enjoy using that, and I suppose it will be pretty good on deep copper coins and things like that. Not for me. 10 kilohertz would be okay in certain aspects, but the real beauty of this machine for me, operation wise, is 15 kilohertz. It's that happy medium between, you know, sensitive enough for the small stuff and still remains that really good kilohertz setting for other targets. Now, years ago, if you remember, those of you that have been detecting a long time, the rule of thumb was the lower the kilohertz it was, the machine, the deeper it would be on things like copper and bronze, but not as sensitive on the smaller targets like the cut quarters, silver hammered coins, cut halves, things like that. However, things have changed considerably over the years, and I think that's turned on its head a little bit. The most modern detectors now, even though the kilohertz are higher in some aspects, they still remain relatively deep, and the sensitivity also remains. So things have changed considerably since the olden days. So I'll be using it on the 15 kilohertz field 1. I can operate in all metal if I want. As you can see across the top, that bar's now all blacked out. As I come out of all metal, there'll be a little bit of discrimination built into that machine. Now that'll change if I move over to field 2. As you can see, that block now has changed. Field 2 actually might be an interesting mode to search in for fine jewellery, things like that. A little bit more sensitive. It could be a little bit noisier, I don't know. I've not tested this machine yet. This is the first time out with it, so we don't actually know what it's going to perform like, but we're going to keep it back. We'll go through the modes again into field 1. That's going to be my preferred search mode. Let's just have a look at the beach mode while we're here. As you can see, I'm in beach 1 and it's stuck in 8 kilohertz. I can't change that by pushing this button. It's locked in at 8 kilohertz, and it's the same for field 2. So we come out of that and we're back into 15 kilohertz field 1. This machine has also got a number of options available to it. As you can see, this button here and this icon, that's for your light. So it's got an LED light that shines down towards the coil in low light conditions, which is extremely bright. I tried it last night. And you've also got this button on this side, which will be for you to wire up, or match up I should say, your wireless headphones, which is always handy. You can make this machine wireless, which is a massive bonus to me. And then you've got your on-off button here. You can actually also, it's got a vibrating handle, so you can adjust this machine for those who like that feature, so the handle vibrates when you're going over a target. For me, I won't be using it, but it's a handy little feature to have on this metal detector. Now, to adjust the sensitivity, of course, it's there, and you can see the sensitivity bar moving up as I'm adjusting it, and the sensitivity goes all the way to 25. It doesn't go any higher than that. I'll stick that on 20 just because it's nice and stable. What else do I like about this machine up to now? It's light, it's well balanced, it's well made, and of course we've got to talk about the price point of this machine, coming in at 299 quid. That's why Minelab have done it. They've brought out a machine to plug that gap. It's a heck of a machine for the money. It's a heck of a machine for the money. It's going to give a lot of other detectors a run for its money because of that particular price bracket. But we'll give it a go. There's some natural targets out here that I want to explore, and the plan would be, and I'm going to look over my shoulder now, is to possibly give it a go at some point on the test bed. However, I've got some contractors on there today clearing out a lot of earth. Probably between 5 and 10 tons of earth is going to be moved today. So we might not get on the test bed, but we certainly will give it a run for its money on some of these natural targets over here. So let's go and have a look at how it performs. So what I've done here now is I've just literally the last couple of minutes off camera, I've just put some minor settings into the machine. We're working on recovery speed 2. We're in field 1. I've maxed the sensitivity out, and I've put the volume as high as we can get it because of this wind. I want you to hear these targets, these natural targets out there, and we're not sure what they are actually. We're going to have to come down and dig these targets at some point. We've got about 1/4 acres here that's not been detected before, or very much at all. So we're going to have to investigate some of these targets at some point in the future. We might just use this X-Terra to do that. We've got the volume 25, sensitivity maxed out, field 1, 15 kilohertz. Let's give it a go. So I'm going to walk over here, and my plan is to walk backwards towards the corner of the field, because we've just got to keep out of that wind. There's no point in me doing these films and you people at home can't hear it because of the horrible wind. Here in Cumbria, and of course we've got our friends over here, look, watching us, always watching us, the sheep. But let's give it a go. Now, the first impressions with this, we've got it on, 25. Just back it off to 23. It's very light, and the handle, as you can see, is a really good grip. That's a better grip than the Equinox 800, folks. People might not like me saying it, or the 600, but that's a fundamentally better grip. Single frequency detectors. Now, coming away from multi-frequency, I like single frequency detectors. Those of you that know me and have watched me detecting over the years have seen some wonderful finds made by single frequency detectors. They're accurate, they do what it says on the tin, and I found some cracking coins and artifacts over the years with them. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing snobby about saying, oh well, you know, I got to use I don't like single frequency metal detectors, multi-frequency is the way to go, which it is, but there's nothing wrong. There's a little bit of snobbery around at times, or you've got to get a multi-frequency metal detector. These detectors will work really well on most, if not all, terrain. Another thing to mention, as I'm just sweeping over to see if we can find some natural targets to home in on, is this shaft really does adjust really long. So I'm quite a tall guy, but this thing here, I don't have to stoop over with it. It can adjust for probably for the tallest of people, which is really handy. The target there, jumping around a little bit. Let's just see if we can locate some decent targets. So there will be targets down here because we know there is. The rest of the field's produced it, so this will as well. Yeah, nice and easy, very lightweight. What I'll do is I'll come back to you as soon as I get a signal. I'll come back to you on it. Yeah, we've got one. As soon as I turn the camera off, swept her about 5 or 6 paces. Hit it. Now this is coming up as on the scale, quite stable. Look at that, 36, 37. It's a natural target. We'll give it a pinpoint function in the middle. Right there, folks. So we'll have to dig that out at some point. We're not going to do it today, but homed in on it. 360 degrees round it. Let's just come out of 15 kilohertz and hit the 5. Try it on 5. Nothing wrong there. VDI numbers have changed a little bit. Starting to jump around on 5 kilohertz. Not as stable VDI numbers. And then if we press it again, we're in 10. As you can see, pretty much similar. So we'll get back into 15 kilohertz. Let's go and see what else we can locate. Another target. 47, 45, 47. Really nice, sweet target. Natural target, folks. We're not sure what these are. They could be anything. Artifacts, coins, junk. But yeah, really sweet. And that pinpoint's right in the centre of that shaft. I'd love to know what that is actually. I should have brought a spade down and dug that out. But there you go, that gives you... There's another one here. Another natural target here. 55, 53. For me, that's a shallow target. Only down a couple of inches, just by that loudness and that double bleep. So there's plenty of natural targets down here for us to have a go at, but that gives you some idea of the capabilities of this machine. It's picking up these natural targets, not a problem. But there is probably some really good, interesting objects down here, and we'll have to come back with the X-Terra and try to get them out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back and finish off, because I want to talk about this machine in a little bit more detail. Right, I've turned it off and I've collapsed the stem down so you can see just how small it packs down to. A very, very, very compact space. So if you're travelling and space is a bit of a premium, then with this you can pack it down with its adjustable collars here, the clips, that one, squeeze it down, there's one in there as well, and and that's a nice neat little package. Now, where does this detector fit in the world of detecting? You're going to ask yourself. What people have got to think about, I think, when they choose a detector now, is there's three things that stand out. Value for money. It's always going to come down to money at the end of the day. Value for money, and this is extremely good value for money for the price. Like I said, $299. You can make it wireless. It's 5 meters waterproof, which is a massive bonus, especially here in the north, where it rains more than it does anything else. But you've got adjustable frequencies. You can use it on the beach. It's an all-terrain detector. You've got the choice of 5, 10, 15 kilohertz, stuck at 8 kilohertz on the beach mode. You've got park, you've got field, you've got the beach modes to go at 2 of those. You can use it in all metal. You can customize the programs. It's got a sub menu. You can go into that and tweak the iron discrimination, iron volume. It's got a lot going for it for the money. Now, I think the savvy people out there are going to look at this and think, well, it's an upgrade from what I've already got, depending on what you're currently using. If you're using a low-end, possibly low-end single frequency detector, this probably ticks a massive box for people wanting to upgrade to a fundamentally better detector. It's stable. It's a very, very good machine, but it's also going to be a good machine for people as a backup. So people that are using high-end detectors that have spent a lot of money on them, if they want a decent backup machine, I think this X-Terra Pro will be perfectly suited to a lot of seasoned detectorists. Now, I'm going to keep this one. I'm a bit of a sucker for new machines when they come out on the market. I did it with the Simplex, I did it with the Vanquish, and I'm going to do the same with this X-Terra Pro. I'm going to keep this now. I'm going to keep it for a few years possibly, and I'm going to clear my mind one or two of the times when I'm out detecting, leave the Equinox 900 at home, take this out with me all day onto the fields, and I'm sure that the results will be quite interesting. I think it's going to be a cracking detector for the money. The performance is there, we've already proved that. We're going to do a part 2 on this because I think it's only right that we give this detector its chance on the Unearthed test bed, like we've seen so many detectors before on it. But as I said earlier, the contractors are up there with the tractors and the trailers at the moment, removing a lot of topsoil and things because we're getting some work done. So I'm not going to be able to do that today. But there will be a part 2 for the X-Terra Pro. Like I said, it's a cracking detector for them. I'm really, really surprised just how good this detector is. Build quality's there, light, loads of features, waterproof and can be made wireless. What's not to like about this machine? And there she is. The X-Terra Pro from Minelab.